All right, once again, we appreciate you for staying with us on the program TMI on the ITV network. We begin our conversation today by looking at the challenge of frequent cult clashes and the attendant consequences on the society. This has been one major issue that has bedeviled our society for a long time to come. And sometimes when you want to believe that you've seen the last, and then it erupts again, and then you just keep hearing of deaths here and there. All across the country, it's a major problem. And today on the show, we'll be engaging a Nigerian who is based in Canada, a security expert, to give us an insight on his perspectives and thoughts on what can be done to remedy this situation. Ugbemudia Basio Sage is a sergeant and detective at the Toronto Police Service. He attended Akugbe Primary School, where he backed his primary school living certificate. The security tactician studied business administration at the York University, Toronto, Canada, and graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration in 1999. The quintessential highly decorated, cerebral, and well-trained security expert was born in Uhi Town to Mr. Aikoroge Osage of Uhi and Masinaye Ramatoy Osage of Obage, both in Wunde local government area of the state. He joined the Toronto Police Service in June 1998 as a court officer assigned to the Ontario Superior Court as a member of the security team for judges, crown prosecutors, prisoners, and members of the public. He was hired as a police officer in December 2000 and graduated from the Ontario Police College in April 2001. He was elevated to 4th class police constable in May 2001 and then 1st class police constable in 2004. He was then assigned to 32 Division, where he served in the primary response unit, alternative response unit, committee response unit, divisional warrant officer, detective constable in the major crime unit, and the criminal investigation bureau. He has also served in the Street Violence Task Force, Toronto Anti-Violence Intervention Strategy, TAVIS, Human Resources Management, background investigation of candidate, and following his amazing on-the-job exploits, Sage was promoted to the rank of sergeant and detective in 2011, making him the highest-ranking Nigerian-born police officer with the Toronto Police Service. As a result of his promotion, Bassi was assigned to 12th Division, where he served as a road supervisor and a detective in the Criminal Investigation Bureau responsible for divisional investigation of financial crimes, assault, youth violence, gun violence, frauds, domestic violence, sexual assault, robberies, and other criminal offenses. It's a pleasure to have with us in the studio here, Ugbemudia Bassi Osage. Thank you for joining us on TMI this lovely Monday morning. Well, I don't know what time it is in Canada, but I'm sure it's a great day to have you join us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's 2 a.m. This is a very important matter in Edo State.
Wow.
So it's worth waking up at 2 a.m. To be able to share some insight.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see that you have a very rich profile when it comes to dealing with the issue of insecurity. And now let's cascade that to the challenge of cult-related violence, which is very prevalent in Edo State and different parts of the country. What are the remote causes, the immediate and remote causes for this, from your experience with this challenge that has been going on for such a long time?
Well, thanks for having me again. The major problem here is that we have to look at the root causes of cultism in Nigeria, particularly Edo State. Typically, cultism in our terms in Canada, we call it gangs. And I was a member of the Anti-Violence Gang Task Force a few years ago in Toronto. The major causes of this, as it relates to Benin, is youth population. There's no employment issue, education. But for our case, it's out of neglect, bad governance that's caused our problem. And in Edo State, particularly Benin City, almost everybody is a member of one gang, one cult or the other. See that they belong to the IA or to the Black Ass or to a different group. And we have never been able to address this. So the major problem is lack of education, poverty, poor parenting skills. People don't believe in themselves. People, youth without hope, youth that are idle. And also another critical thing that we have to look at is identity. Joining the cultism give them identity. It's also give them the protection. Say if something happened to them, they have a group that they can go to that can fight for them. That is how they all join. I know some of the people in Nigeria, in those states, joined when they were in university. But these ones that are causing havoc, that are victimizing our community, these are people with no education, no hope, no job, with no the lifestyle, they believe. So this is the problem. Another issue with us, we people are not really looking at, is alcohol and drug use. A lot of these youths, they are high, they have negative influence from people because they are poor, so people can easily use them and use them again. So they also have poor education, like I said. Employment potential, there's no hope for them to get a job. They need a sense of belonging, a sense of recognition. That's why they are in this. But we have failed to address it, which I hope I'll be able to shed some light today on how we should address this issue.
Okay, certainly we'll have that opportunity in the course of this conversation. But I'm just thinking, in Canada, for example, where you live, in Ontario, and several other civilized environments, you still have this challenge of cultism. I mean, you said a while ago you call it gangs in Canada. And back here, the problem is there. Back here, we could easily adduce the problem to youth unemployment and all of that. So what is responsible for its prevalence in civilized climes like in Canada where you live? I mean, one should expect that with the problem of unemployment being tackled, this kind of, activities will be drastically reduced, but it's still very, very prevalent, like you said.
Well, it's different context. Here, we have about 5% unemployment rate. In Edo State, we have about 40% unemployment rate. In Canada, it's not up to about 5% of the youth that are in gangs. In Edo State, I can tell you that majority of our youth are in gangs. And another thing, sometimes there is shooting here. Here is motivated by drug, young men selling drug, and young men with no education, same way. That's the motivation, because they need to join the gang in order to protect themselves and their interests. That's why they join here. But here, they are largely controlled. I can tell you that in Toronto, we police officers basically know the gang members, where they live, their addresses, their phone number. So although they commit crime, but we control it. And it's not just a free-for-all like in Edo State. In Edo State, people commit this crime, they kill people, you arrest them, especially if they are connected, they get released by somebody else. In Canada, they get punished. And that serves as a deterrent to other would-be gang people to victimize our community. Plus, the way it happens here, they don't just victimize the whole community like in Edo State. We have a incident of one gang member shooting the other gang member for tough reason, for money and for drug. But we don't see where they go to a neighborhood and everybody's just afraid of them. That is completely different. They have not been able to actually change the general well-being of the people of Toronto. Whereas in Edo State, all these gangs, Benin, everybody's afraid of them. Everybody are afraid to go to certain area. People cannot go out at night. People are afraid. But in Toronto, people are not afraid to go out at night. People are not afraid of these people. And they don't victimize the same way that they victimize in Edo State. So it's completely different. The issue with our is that we have not even started to build our society to address this yet. There's no resources to address it. The police are not addressing it, and society are not addressing it. For us here, it's different. I run a community unit where we address these issues, and we make sure that they don't victimize us. But I don't see how any cohesive approach by the government or the stakeholders, or other government agency, how they are addressing them in Edo State.
Okay, in terms of finding lasting solution, because this is like a recurring decimal. When you just want to believe that it's going down, then there is a trigger somewhere, and then we have multiples of deaths here and there, which are cult related. So what's your template in addressing this issue? If you have the opportunity to, if you're given that task, for example, what's your template?
Well, the first thing we have to do here in Edo State, public awareness. You and I know that we have these court members in government house, in the House of Assembly, in the local government council. We're going to have to find a way, if we have to have a conference or a ceasefire. That's what I'll be asking for. I believe there was a guy, Tony Kabaka, last week, led the public rally against him. People were against him, but it's understandable because he doesn't have the credibility to speak about it. So that is will be one way to start the public awareness. Once we have done that public awareness, we have to obviously have I will call for a conference, a ceasefire and a conference where we bring all the leaders, whether they are here and all those other black arts. We all know the leaders in Benin. If you grew up in Benin, you know them. So I will bring them together and say, look, enough is enough. Moving forward, this was going to happen. There got to be punishment. I will set up a gang unit in the government house where, especially those people that are top in government, where they should renounce their membership in these instances. And any government officials that is part of it. You and I know top government officials are members of this court. So where if it's found, they will be drastically, they will be punished and they will be removed from government. Then once we have done that, I will go down to the root causes of this problem, because there are risk factors why this incident is happening. First thing I would do is our education. We have to educate our people. We have to educate them from primary to secondary school and make them study a curriculum that they can get jobs. If they have job, they will have hope. If they have hope, there will be less reliance on their fellow court members for survival. That's one issue. We have to teach them skills. We have to teach our young people values and belief and the habit of thinking that they need gun. We have to discourage them from it. When I was a young man in Benin, we have what we call the principal cup, where we play in every school. We need to bring something like that back. Once we finish the educational piece, then we have to go to the prevention. We have to take I will take actual action to stop it, like identify those gang members, investigating them, setting up a gang unit in the police, in the government, and with our stakeholders, where we can actually find them and actually punish them. Then you go to the I will go to the intervention. Intervention, that means I and the agencies will get involved in these things, in making sure that even those people that are members of the gang, we find a way to rehabilitate them. Like I said, these guys have no hope, they have no future, they have no education, they have no money, they are poor, they are taking drugs, they are taking alcohol. We're going to set up an agency to help these people rehabilitate them back to the community. Once I have finished with that, they will go to the stage of suppression. That means we have to actually stop them, where we go and arrest, we raid, we do in the Toronto law, we raid them, you put them before the court, and you make sure they are punished. First thing I would do when given the opportunity, I would break the cycle, what you said, the cycle where they are killing each other. We break it from there. Once we break that, we go down to the root causes of this. And we need to do law enforcement, rehabilitation. Then we do what in Toronto we call it targeting policing. That we use intelligence, we gather the information, who is doing this, we arrest them, and we put them before the court. If they are convicted or whatever happened to them, part of the condition would be you have to undergo some rehabilitation strategy, and we need to bring you back. And they will have to go on public engagement. And the major thing here, my brother, is that youth, they need education, they need skills. We need to provide them job opportunity. The unemployment rate is too high, and that get them to join the gang.
Yeah, what do you make of this challenge where every so often when people are arrested and perhaps they are prosecuted and then jailed or they are in detention, they come out worse than they were, particularly because of the state of correctional facility. What do you make of that as a challenge in this matrix of discussion of trying to reduce the menace of cultism in our society?
I I don't think they actually come out worse based on my experience. My experience is that in Benin, when these gang members get arrested, most of them don't even make it to court. Most of them get released because we have court members in higher places, and judges, as lawyers, as government officials. So they don't even make it to trial. But say assuming we have improved our system where we actually put them to trial, the first thing we do is while they're in jail, you have to rehabilitate them. You have to teach them skills. That's what we do in Canada. I tell people when I go out on the road when I was in Benin, I say I want to bring Canada to Edo State. We have to go to jail. They should be going to school in jail. They should be learning trade, carpentry, painting. And that's where we go back and retrain them so that when they come out of jail, they become useful to the society. And you give them hope when they come out. If they have learned any trade while in prison, we can give them small loan without interest. Things like that so that we can bring them back to society. That's the only way to do it.
Okay.
You can't just release them.
On the final note, before we let you leave, quickly share your thought with us on the burgeoning insecurity problems in the country, particularly the menace of banditry and the menace of Boko Haram. Just recently, I read a story, and I very much believe that story in Niger State, where some communities are now giving their allegiance to a bandit leader. In other words, they sort of they are convinced that the bandit leader will provide them better comfort for them to live their normal lives, and so they give their allegiance to the bandit leader in Niger State. Not one but several communities. What do you make of these, trends within the context of fight against insecurity?
Well, this is very simple. By the time you see community members giving allegiance to a bandit, that means they have lost faith in their government. That means they don't trust the government. They don't have faith in them. The primary existence of the government is to protect life and property. Once the government have refused or failed to provide that, that government have failed. So for me, the first place we have to go is to restore our government, is to have efficient and effective law enforcement agency. No country can thrive without an effective and efficient law enforcement agency. So we have to rebuild our police system. I believe we have to start all over again and recruit, hire the right people for the job, do more of intelligent gathering than just police running around. Once we do that, we secure our area. And we have to make sure we know the number of people that live in our society. We don't even know. So once we put all those things in place and we do some innovation in law enforcement, like train our officers well, pay them well. They don't pay them enough.
Okay.
And equip them well, buy them equipment. You give them a good environment to operate. Once we start doing that and we start to take control of our land, then there will be less reliance on these bandits to take over. What we are not doing, we have failed our people. We have refused to provide any security they deserve, and we have refused to equip and empower our law enforcement officers. That's what it is. And the government are not very clear. We don't even know how much they are spending on this gang rehabilitation. We don't know how much they are spending on security. All we see is a blanket amount of money they are spending on security. They should be transparent in terms of how much they are spending, what they are spending on, so that the people can contribute to it. So the major thing is that we don't have an effective and efficient law enforcement agency to combat this, and that we have to change.
Okay. All right. Ogbemudia, let me thank you very specially for finding time to join us on TMI this beautiful Monday. From time to time, we always invite you to join us to engage some of this conversation and share from your wealth of knowledge and experience as it relates to tackling insecurity problems in our society. Thank you for obliging us your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I'll be welcome. I'll be happy to come back, especially to share my ideas on solutions.
Okay.
On what we have to do to help our young people.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been talking with Ogbemudia Bassi Osage, who is a Canadian-based security expert, sharing some thought with us all the way from Ontario, Canada, on the show this lovely Monday morning.